Imagine being in a relationship where every morning you wake up not sure if you're in love or retaking a psychology exam. She's beautiful, intelligent, charming. You once thought, this is the one I could spend the rest of my life with. But then, one day, you find yourself apologizing for your own feelings. You take 3 deep breaths before replying to a message. And the worst part, you begin to doubt whether you have any worth left. If that sounds familiar, then this video is for you. Not to bash women, not to tell you to break up with anyone, but to call out the quiet signs, the ones that slowly eat away at you from the inside, so you no longer have to live as a blurred version of yourself. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't to keep enduring. It's to get up, walk away, and take your dignity with you, whole and intact. Most men have experienced a strange silence in love. Like you're next to a girl with a beautiful smile, a charming voice. Everything feels like a peaceful love song. Until you start to sense something is off. There are no screaming fights, no clear betrayal, not even any drama. Just this quiet sense of being lost inside your own relationship. Like you're in a familiar room, but someone secretly changed the lock, and you no longer have the key. Ben's story. Ben, a software engineer I met at a tech meetup, once shared a story I'll never forget. He fell in love with a smart, independent woman. But gradually, whenever he asked, "Where are you?" or "Want to meet tonight?" she'd coldly reply, "Are you trying to control me?" Then one Sunday afternoon, when Ben asked her to go hiking like they always did, she simply said, "I have my own plans. I don't think I need to tell you." Comment. It may seem small, but that was when the needle slipped off the love record. Intuition never screams, it whispers. But when it whispers too often, it's no longer a feeling, it's a warning. And wise men don't ignore warnings. They listen and they act. This isn't overthinking, this is over-surviving. Many men are labeled too sensitive, thinking too much, making a big deal out of nothing. But the truth is, they're just fighting to keep their minds from collapsing. When a relationship makes you breathe deep 3 times before opening her texts, when you need to launch the Headspace app just to prepare for a simple conversation, that's not love. That's a mental battlefield, and you're quietly losing the war. Tony's story. Tony, a once confident financial analyst, told me over coffee, "I don't recognize myself in the mirror anymore, not because I'm aging, but because I've become a low-quality copy of who I used to be. I used to be funny, energetic. Now I triple-check every word before I speak. Afraid I'll be misunderstood, afraid she'll go silent for a whole day." Comment. The right person helps you grow. The wrong one drains you. If a relationship makes you slowly disappear from yourself, don't call it love. Call it what it is, controlled emotional depletion. And the solution isn't endurance, it's walking away at the right time. Once you start doubting your own worth, there's nothing left to protect. A relationship is where 2 people grow together, not where you shrink yourself just to be good enough. But it's so easy to fall into the sweet trap of early affection, only to slowly become someone who apologizes just for having emotions. When you start asking yourself whether you're asking too much simply because you want respect, that's not introspection. That's a warning sign that you're being worn down. Jake's story. Jake, a fitness coach full of optimism and discipline, became a different man after just 8 months in a toxic relationship. Quiet, hesitant, starting every sentence with, "I'm sorry," even when he was just asking not to be interrupted. "I dared to ask for respect," he said, and she took it as an insult. That was the moment he realized it was time to leave. Comment. The right woman lifts you, not with words, but by making you feel you're worth something. The wrong one doesn't need to do anything. Her silence and coldness will melt you like ice in an oven. And men aren't meant to melt, they're meant to stand tall. Every sign is like a warning light on your dashboard. First, a small beep. Then the red light blinks. Then smoke rises from the hood. And you still tell yourself, probably just the heat today. Men are trained to endure, to the point that endurance becomes a virtue. But often, that's the deadliest trap. You don't leave because of love. You stay because you're afraid to be seen as someone who gave up. But if you're sitting in a car with no brakes, the smart move isn't to drive on, it's to jump out before the cliff comes. Martin's story. Martin, a calm insurance professional, told me about the moment that shook him. He was washing dishes after another tense dinner, and he suddenly heard himself say, "She didn't mean it." For the 50th time, he paused. Not because she didn't mean it, but because he had turned that excuse into the reason he kept staying. Comment: leaving isn't weakness. It's clarity. It's the moment you realize you deserve more than this. And sometimes loving yourself begins with just one step out of the door that's slowly choking the life out of you. Sign 1. Gaslighting, mental manipulation. If every time you say, "I feel hurt," she replies, "you're just imagining things," then sorry, you're no longer in a romantic relationship. You're the lead actor in a psychological horror film where she plays the screenwriter, director, and judge all at once. This is no longer a difference in perspective. This is gaslighting, a form of manipulation that makes you question yourself, your emotions, and your memory. Every time you doubt yourself a little more, she's reshaping reality to fit the version of the world she wants you to believe in. Tyler's story. Tyler, a young architect, once told me he carefully put away his favorite dress shirt after taking it to the dry cleaners. One day he discovered a large burn mark on the back. When he asked his girlfriend, she said, "Huh? You never had that shirt. You must be remembering wrong." It got to the point where Tyler had to dig up receipts and phone photos just to prove the shirt actually existed. Comment: if you have to double-check your memory every time there's conflict, that relationship is no longer safe. A real partner helps you rediscover yourself, not makes you question your very existence. And if you have to choose between clarity and love, choose clarity. Because real love will never demand that you give up your sanity in exchange. Sign 2. Disrespecting your boundaries. A person who doesn't respect your boundaries isn't your lover. They're a psychological hacker. Everyone needs personal space, not because they're selfish, but because they need to breathe. Boundaries are like a firewall for your emotional system. You set them to protect your mental space and direction. But if every time you ask for some space, she takes it as rejection or emotional avoidance, then sorry, you're loving someone who doesn't understand what love is. Daniel's story. Daniel, a writer I met at a book fair, shared that he just needed one quiet Saturday afternoon to finish a chapter. He gently texted his girlfriend, "I'd like some quiet time to write today." The response? A 2-minute voice note blaming him for not caring anymore, followed by 6 more follow-up texts. And just like that, his entire afternoon vanished. Comment: boundaries aren't meant to push people away. They're meant to keep love healthy. Someone who truly loves you will understand that intimacy sometimes comes from respecting distance. Without that, you're not being loved, you're being controlled. Sign 3. Always playing the victim. She could break a pen and still claim she's the victim because you made me write too many sad messages. Some women possess an emotional superpower, the ability to turn every mistake into a consequence of your actions or inaction. This goes beyond irresponsibility. It becomes a lifestyle of permanent victimhood. And the most dangerous part, you start to believe it's truly your fault, even when you're just breathing normally. Rick's story. Rick, a marketing guy at a startup, once shared, after a week of strange behavior from his girlfriend, he finally asked, "Is there something you're not telling me?" She cried and said, "You've been so cold. I needed someone to talk to." That someone turned out to be her ex. And talking, according to Rick, lasted 3 consecutive nights, offline at the guy's house. And strangely enough, Rick was the one who ended up apologizing for making her feel lonely. Comment: a mature person takes responsibility for their actions, but someone who wears emotional victimhood like armor will make you carry every consequence, even when you're just standing still. And in that kind of game, you can never win. You can only escape. Sign 4. Disrespecting your time. Some women treat your time like instant noodles. Use it, then toss it. She says, let's meet at 6, and at 7 you get, still doing makeup, just a minute, okay? That minute could last longer than the Cold War. You've rescheduled meetings, skipped meals just to be on time, only to get a last-minute cancellation delivered with alarming indifference. If it happens once, you let it go. But when it becomes a pattern, it's not randomness, it's disrespect. Carlos's story. Carlos, a wedding photographer, shared how he prepared all afternoon for a couple's sunset photo shoot with his girlfriend. He set up the gear, chose the location, timed the lighting, but when he called to say it was time to leave, she replied, I feel a bit tired, ate too much cake, let's do it another day. No apology, no thank you, just another day. Comment: time is the most valuable asset you have, and it should only go to those who deserve it. If she doesn't value the hours you offer, soon she'll start wasting your entire life. And the scary part isn't losing time, it's losing yourself in the waiting. Sign 5, she stops trying. When she stops caring whether you feel loved, that's not being comfortable in the relationship. That's systematic laziness. There's a huge difference between feeling secure and not giving a damn. In the beginning, she'd ask if you'd eaten, send cute texts just to make you smile. Now, you text her all day and get a dry okay at 10 p.m. Many people think that love fades with time, but that's not true. Only effort fades, and that's the real death sentence. Ethan's story. Ethan, a printer technician, shared with a sad smile, when we first met, every Friday she'd bake me butter cookies, wrap them with handwritten notes. After a year, the only thing she hands me is the Wi-Fi bill. With a, I've paid this month, FYI. No more small gestures, no more warmth in her eyes. Just a mechanical routine, like a broken clock still ticking. Comment: love is intentional action, not a fading feeling. If someone stops putting in the effort to keep you, ask yourself, are you being loved, or just being kept out of habit? And habit doesn't make the heart beat. It just makes the days pass, quietly and without meaning. Final truth: when you stay, just because you're afraid to be alone. When you realize you're staying in a relationship just because you're afraid of being alone, the truth is, you've already been alone for a long time. Nothing hurts more than lying next to someone while their heart is somewhere else. You still smile, still say goodnight, still maintain the image of a fine couple in public. But inside, it's just empty spaces no one touches anymore. And you stay, not because you love them, but because you fear the silence that might come after walking out. But remember, the loneliness inside a bad relationship is 10 times heavier than the loneliness of being single. Because in one you still hold hope, and that hope kills you slowly. Closing thought: you don't need someone to prove you're lovable. You don't need to work hard to become good enough to be chosen. What you need is someone who sees your worth, without reminders, and treats you the way you treat them, with respect, attention, and genuine presence. Because real love doesn't come from fear of losing, it comes from the trust that staying is a choice, not an obligation.